Excellencies, Madam Executive Secretary, distinguished delegates, the meeting is called to order. The Commission will now consider Agenda Item 5, Management Issues. The documents pertaining to this item are, first, ESCAP/77/6 on Summary of Progress and the Implementation of Commission Resolution, Resolution 75/3, second, ESCAP/77/21 on the Proposed Program Plan for 2022, third, ESCAP/77/22 on the Program Changes for the 2021 Program Plan, fourth, ESCAP/77/23 on the Overview of Partnerships, Extra Budgetary Contributions and Capacity Development, fifth, ESCAP/77/24 Report on the Evaluation of the Asian and Training Center for Information and Communication Technology for Development, and sixth, ESCAP/77/2/Rev1 on Evaluation of the Asian and Pacific Training Center for Information and Communication Technology for Development. At the outset, may I invite the Executive Secretary, Ms. Armida Sasyal-Bana, to introduce this agenda item.
Honorable Chair, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, it is a pleasure to be with you to focus on management issues. Allow me to say a few brief words about each of the documents you are considering today. The proposed program plan of ESCAP for 2022, document ESCAP/77/21, is developed based on the General Assembly's endorsement of the Advisory Committee on Administrative and Budgetary Questions recommendation on management reform. It also takes into account additional requirements in annual program planning requested by member states through General Assembly resolutions on program planning. The proposed program plan provides the overall orientation for ESCAP and details 13 frameworks for each sub-program. It provides an outline of how ESCAP will work with member states and partners, including sub-regional organizations, to support the acceleration of the implementation of the 2030 Agenda while recovering from the impact of COVID-19 pandemic. An earlier draft was presented to the ACPR, and comments received from the ACPR were incorporated in the current document. Please note that the document before the Commission is the unedited version, as the editing of the fascicle is undertaken by headquarters. Following the Commission's endorsement, the proposed program plan will be reviewed by the Committee for Program and Coordination, or CPC, and considered by the Advisory Committee on Administrative and Budgetary Questions, or ACABQ, Fifth Committee of the General Assembly, as part of the program budget document, which is expected to be adopted by the General Assembly at the end of 2021. The Secretariat seeks your endorsement of the proposed program plan for 2022. We count on your government's support as it goes through the approval progress with the Committee for Program and Coordination and the Fifth Committee. I would like now to turn to program changes for the 2021 program plan, document ESCAP/77/22. The proposed program changes refer to programmatic adjustment to deliverables impacted by the current COVID-19 pandemic concerning this Commission session, as well as other proposed changes to the program plan. None of the proposed changes have implications on the regular budget. The Secretariat seeks your endorsement of these program changes to the 2021 program plan. Allow me to now turn to the overview of ESCAP partnership and the outcomes of capacity development activities funded by extra budgetary contributions received in 2020. Document ESCAP/77/23. Despite the pandemic, we implemented most of our technical cooperation program and expanded and strengthened partnerships across the board. The UN family provided a coordinated and coherent response to COVID-19 pandemic through the 5 issue-based coalitions under the Regional Collaborative Platform in Asia and the Pacific. In addition, ESCAP assisted resident coordinators in preparing common country analysis for Afghanistan, Islamic Republic of Iran, Maldives, Thailand, Vietnam, and the Pacific Islands countries and territories. ESCAP continued expanding our collaboration with the global, regional, and sub-regional organizations. ESCAP assisted ASEAN with its COVID-19 Comprehensive Recovery Framework and completed the 2016-2020 ASEAN UN Plan of Action and initiated work on the 2021-2025 plan. ESCAP also signed partnership agreements with the Asian Development Bank, the United Nations Development Programme, the Global Green Growth Institute, the Institute for Global Environmental Strategies, the Asian Institute of Technology, the Ministry of Digital Development, Innovations and Aerospace Industry of Kazakhstan, and the Pacific Community. In November 2020, together with the governments of Indonesia and Thailand and the United Nations Office for South-South Cooperation, ESCAP organized the 3rd Asia-Pacific DG Forum for South-South and Triangular Cooperation. The 4th forum will be held in 2021 in conjunction with the Global South-South Development Expo 2021. ESCAP continued its engagement with existing and new donors. This culminated in new partnerships and projects worth $9.6 million. I would like to express the Secretary's deep appreciation to Member States, donors, and development partners, many of whom are represented here, for their continued support to ESCAP. Finally, let me turn to the report on the evaluation of the Asian and Pacific Center for Information and Communication Technology for Development, or APCICT. Document ESCAP/77/24 is issued in response to Resolution 71/1, in which the Commission decided to review the continued relevance and financial viability of each regional institution every 5 years. For the purpose of informing this review, the Secretariat commissioned an independent evaluation of APCICT. I'm pleased to submit for your consideration the main conclusion and recommendation for improving the relevance, results orientation, and financial viability of the Center contained in document ESCAP/77/24. I have committed to taking appropriate actions to address these recommendations. Details of this commitment are contained in the same document. The full report of this evaluation is contained in the information note ESCAP/77/INF/2. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Madam Executive Secretary. We shall now take up agenda item 5A on the proposed program plan for 2022. I now open the floor for comments. Would any other delegations like to raise any questions? So I see none. This brings us to the conclusion of agenda item 5A. We shall now take up agenda item 5B on program changes for the 2021 program plan. I now open the floor for comments. Would any other delegations like to raise any other matters on this agenda item? I see none. This brings us to the conclusion of agenda item 5B. We shall now take up agenda item 5C on overview of partnership, extra budgetary contributions, and capacity development. May I first invite the conference room officer to play a short video to highlight recent cooperation activities between the Secretariat and number of regional partners.
Partnerships lie at the heart of ESCAP's work in delivering on the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. In the past year, partnerships have proven critical in assisting member states to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic and to build back better through regional and sub-regional cooperation, in particular in three main work streams. A. Protecting people and enhancing resilience. B. Supporting economic recovery. And C. Restoring supply chains and supporting small and medium-sized enterprises.
It is a great pleasure for me to sign this new Memorandum of Understanding between ADB and ESCAP. The ADB-ESCAP relationship is a strong and very long one, and is now more important than ever as the Asia-Pacific region faces the challenges of overcoming the COVID-19 pandemic.
It is also a good time because we are in a period where many countries are seeking a more sustainable development pathway in the face of COVID-19, climate change, biodiversity loss, natural disasters, and other planetary crises.
If you look at the countries that ESCAP works in, 53 countries, you will see that it actually matches very well the footprint of the student body of the Asian Institute of Technology. In other words, our reach across a vast region of Asia pretty much matches what ESCAP's work is involved in. So to me, this is a natural for us to be working closer together.
It's a bit, interesting to sign in this format, in online, but I think that our collaboration and our partnership will accelerate, digitalization of the region, and we can do our best to propose our best solutions to our neighbors and the other countries.
This Memorandum of Understanding will cover joint areas of activity between SPC and ESCAP across a range of different technical areas, including climate change, disaster resilience, sustainability of our environment, our agriculture, our oceans, social development issues, and indeed geospatial and statistical data.
ESCAP has continued to expand its partnership with all relevant stakeholders, recently concluding a series of agreements that mark both the establishment of new relationships and the continuation of long-standing cooperation.
I wish to thank all our partners, recent and long-standing, for teaming up with ESCAP. Their contributions have been invaluable in augmenting the analytical and practical expertise of ESCAP. The agreements that we have signed cover a vast range of work to support, first and foremost, the implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. We have also agreed to assist our member states to recover better from COVID-19 pandemic. We are proud to be partners with these organizations. I want to express again my deep appreciation for their engagement and contribution in helping the countries of ESCAP to realize a more resilient, inclusive, and sustainable Asia and the Pacific.
Thank you. I now open the floor for country interventions. The first speaker on my list is Japan, followed by Republic of Korea. Japan, you have the floor.
Japan has been cooperated with the UN Statistics Institute for Asia and the Pacific, SEAP, as its host country I extend my heartfelt congratulations to SIAP on its 50th anniversary last year. I would like to express my gratitude to ESCAP for hosting the SIAP's 50th anniversary webinar and producing the excellent anniversary issue for SIAP. I really appreciate all the congratulatory messages to SIAP from everyone. Regarding the work plan for 2021, as the host government, Japan is ready to provide SIAP with both cash and in-kind contributions in accordance with the agreement and its annual budgetary appropriations. For the year from April 2021 to March 2022, the government of Japan intends to make a cash contribution of 1,843,765 US dollars and in-kind contributions equivalent to 1,100,852 US dollars, bringing the total amount of contributions to almost 3 million US dollars. I believe that ESCAP will discuss the reform of the United Nations Development System with us, and these contributions will be spent wisely and transparently. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Japan, for your statement. I see Republic of Korea, followed by Thailand. Republic of Korea, you have the floor.
Of the Republic of Korea, I'm pleased to announce Korea's contribution for the year 2021. The total amount of the contribution this year will be approximately 4.6 million US dollars. Contribution in detail are as follows. First, ESCAP's program of work, a total of 552,600 US dollars, including a cash contribution of $60,000 from the Ministry of Health and Welfare, $190 from the Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries, $66,000 from the Ministry of Science and ICT, $88,000 from the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport, and $117 from the Korea International Cooperation Agency. Second, $256,000 for the Korea ESCAP Cooperation Fund and $265,000 for NASPAC. Three, with regards to the regional institutions, approximately $1,670,000 will be allocated to APCICT, $26,000 to APCTT, $10,000 to CSEN, and $112,000 to SIAP, respectively. Lastly, the Korean government will provide $1,141,000 in support of the ESCAP sub-regional office for East and Northeast Asia, located in Incheon, Korea. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Republic of Korea, for your statement. Next on my list is Thailand, to be followed by Russia. Thailand, you have the floor.
As host country, Thailand is committed to supporting the work of ESCAP and its subsidiary institutions in advancing sustainable development in the region. We encourage member states and others to make appropriate contributions to ESCAP, including to the Tsunami Trust Fund, which needs replenishing. Last year, Thailand contributed an additional $30,000 to the trust fund, but more funding is needed to carry on its good works. Thailand is pleased to announce our initial contributions for the years 2021 in the total amount of $54,000 as follows. First, to Asian and Pacific Center for Transfer of Technology in amount of $15,000. Second, to Center for Sustainable Agriculture Mechanization in the amount of $15,000. Third, to Statistical Institute for Asia and the Pacific in amount of $23,000. And fourth, to Pacific Trust Fund in amount of $1,000. Any additional contributions will be communicated to the Secretariat. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Thailand, for your statement. The next speaker is Russia, to be followed by China. Russia, you have the floor.
Уважаемые коллеги, Российская Федерация остается одним из стабильных доноров. Несмотря на негативное воздействие пандемии коронавируса на российскую экономику. В этой связи хотел бы сделать следующее объявление. В апреле этого года Российская Федерация внесла очередной добровольный взнос в бюджет комиссии в размере $1,2 миллиона США. А также выделила ранее $30 тысяч США на поддержку Статистического института для Азии и Тихого океана, СИАП. Благодарю вас.
Thank you, Russia, for your statement. The next speaker is China, to be followed by India. China, you have the floor.
主席先生，感谢子命女士刚才所做的报告。中国一直支持 ESCAP 的工作。我愿借此机会宣布2021年中国对 ESCAP 及相关附属机构的捐款意向。第一，中国将向亚太技术转移中心 APCTT 捐款2.7万美元。第二，中国将向联合国可持续农机中心 CSAM 捐款160万美元。第三，中国将向亚太统计研究所 SIAM 捐款7万美元。第四，中国将向亚太残疾人10年捐款1万美元。第五，中国将向东北亚环境合作机制捐款4.5万美元。第六，中国将继续向中国 ESCAP 合作基金捐款100万美元和150万元人民币。我们希望 ESCAP 及相关的附属机构善用捐款，加强项目管理，提高资金效率，产出具体成果，为推进亚太疫后重建和复苏做出切实贡献。谢谢主席先生。
Thank you, China, for your statement. The next speaker is India. India, you have the floor.
Thank you for the floor, Chair. Mr. Chair, India remains privileged to host the ESCAP Sub-Regional Office for South and Southwest Asia and the Asian Pacific Center for Transfer of Technology in New Delhi, and looks forward to further strengthening of these institutions for capacity building and engagement with their members. The Government of India strongly believes that APCTT's mandate for the Asia Pacific region has become more relevant in the context of human, economic, and social impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. India has been actively extending financial support both in cash and kind, as well as technical support to APCTT since 1994. The Government of India would also seek Governing Council support in securing increased matching voluntary contributions from other member countries to promote and strengthen the center further. The Government of India reiterates its commitment to support APCTT to deliver effective services to members and associate members. India would like to announce its contribution for the ESCAP's sub-regional office and regional institutes as follows. For the South and Southwest Asia SRO-SSWA, we pledge a contribution of $79,000. For the Statistical Institute for Asia and the Pacific, SIAP, we pledge a contribution of $25,000. And for the Asian and Pacific Center for Transfer of Technology, APCTT, our contribution will be $870,000. Any further contribution pledge will be communicated to the Secretariat accordingly. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, India, for your statement. Would any other delegations like to raise any other matters on this agenda item? I see none. This brings us to the conclusion of agenda item 5C. We shall now take up agenda item 5D on report on the evaluation of the Asian and Pacific Training Center for Information and Communication Technology for Development. I now open the floor for comments. Would any other delegations like to raise any other matters on this agenda item? I see none. This brings us to the conclusion of agenda item 5D. We shall now take up agenda item 6 on the activities of the Advisory Committee of Permanent Representatives and other representatives designated by the members of the Commission. Under this agenda item, we are considering document ESCAP/77/25 entitled Report of the Advisory Committee of Permanent Representatives and other representatives designated by members of the Commission. I would like to invite the rapporteur of the ECPR, His Excellency Mr. Ganesh Prasad Dahal, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary and Permanent Representative of Nepal to ESCAP, to present the report of the ECPR to the Commission. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Chair, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, I am honored to introduce to you today the report of the Advisory Committee of Permanent Representatives and other representatives designated by members of the Commission on its activities since the last session of the Commission in May 2020 until March of this year. As you know, the Commission in its Resolution 73/1 had instructed the Advisory Committee with several functions, including strengthening close cooperation and consultation between member states and the Secretariat, serving as a deliberative forum for substantive exchange of views and providing guidance on the formulation of the ESCAP agenda, as well as advising the Executive Secretary on the program of work and preparation for the Commission and its subsidiary committee. In the lapsed In the elapsed time since the last session of the Commission, the committee has done just that. The Advisory Committee held 6 regular sessions during the past year. In addition, informal consultations were held to initiate discussions about the theme topic for the 78th session of the Commission in 2022. Moreover, the Advisory Committee convened its informal working group on draft resolution, which was chaired by His Excellency Mr. Asim Iftikhar Ahmad, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary and Permanent Representative of Pakistan to ESCAP, and Mr. Andrew Bourne, Permanent Representative of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland to ESCAP as Vice Chair, to undertake an initial review of the draft resolutions and decisions before their submission to this session of the Commission for its consideration. Mr. Chair, allow me to highlight a few key activities of the Advisory Committee during the period under review from document SCAP/77/25 placed before you. The Advisory Committee reviewed the outcome of the 76th session of the Commission and provided advice and guidance on the implementation of the 2 resolutions adopted at that session. The Advisory Committee reviewed the preparation made by the Secretariat for the current 77th session of the Commission. Members of the Advisory Committee also closely reviewed preparation for and outcome of a broad range of meetings convened by ESCAP in several sectoral streams, including information and communication technology, science, technology and information, statistics, social development, transport, environment and development, trade and investment, and energy. The Advisory Committee also reviewed the preparation for and outcome of the Asia Pacific Regional Review of Implementation of the Global Compact for Safe, Orderly and Regular Migration. Furthermore, the Advisory Committee reviewed the preparation for the 8th Asia Pacific Forum on Sustainable Development. The Advisory Committee also examined the outcome of the session of the Governing Council of the Regional Institution of ESCAP. Throughout the year, the Executive Secretary of ESCAP regularly informed the Executive Advisory Committee of activities relating to priority issues of the United Nations and of ESCAP, and outcome of her virtual participation and engagement in major events, major meetings, cooperation between member states and the Secretariat, and administrative and program matters concerning ESCAP. Regular updates on the reform of the United Nations Development System were also regularly provided to the Advisory Committee. Moreover, the Advisory Committee was briefed by the Executive Secretary on key recommendations from the Regional Conversation Series on Building Back Better, held in conjunction with the commemoration event for the 75th anniversary of the United Nations, as well as activity of the Secretariat to assist member states in their response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Mr. Chair, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, to sum up, the Advisory Committee provided valuable advice and guidance to the Secretariat in the past year, while remaining conscious of the importance of monitoring the implementation of Commission resolutions and improving coordination among all relevant stakeholders pursuing the economic, social, and environmental agenda of ESCAP. As the rapporteur of the ACPR, it is my honor to hereby submit for consideration by the Commission the report of the Advisory Committee of Permanent Representatives and other representatives designated by members of the Commission. I look forward to comments from the meeting and would be pleased to entertain any questions there may be. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. I would now like to open the floor to delegates their statements on agenda item 6. Are there any delegates wishing to make statements? As I see no further requests to speak, I conclude discussion on agenda item 6. We now move on to consider agenda item 7, dates, venue, and theme topic for the 78th session of the Commission 2022. Under this agenda item, the Commission is considering documents ESCAP/77/26. I would like to give the floor to Mr. Lorenzo Santucci, Secretary of the Commission, to deliver an introductory statement.
Thank you, Chair. Distinguished delegates, the document before you, ESCAP/77/26, contains information concerning the proposed dates and venue for the 78th Commission session in 2022, as well as a proposal for its theme topic and the proposed issues to be covered by the theme study. It is proposed that the 78th session be held from 23 to 27 May 2022 at the United Nations Conference Center in Bangkok, taking into account major meetings and holidays during April and in particular the first half of May 2022 that could have an impact on both servicing of and participation at the session. With regard to the theme topic for the 78th session of the Commission, after consultation with the Advisory Committee of Permanent Representatives, and taking into account that next year the Commission will be celebrating its 75th anniversary, it is proposed that the theme be a common agenda to advance sustainable development in Asia and the Pacific. The Commission is therefore requested to confirm the recommendations for both the proposed dates and proposed theme for the 78th session. Moreover, it is proposed that the third Ministerial Conference on Regional Economic Cooperation and Integration in Asia and the Pacific, scheduled to be held in 2021, be postponed to 2022. This would allow the work of ESCAP in advancing regional economic cooperation and integration to be aligned with a new regional cooperation agenda to be discussed by Member States at the 78th session of the Commission. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Santucci. I would now like to open the floor to delegates for statements under agenda item 7. Are there any delegates wishing to make statements? As I see no further requests to speak, I conclude discussion on agenda item 7. We shall proceed to consider agenda item 8, other matters. Under this agenda item, the Commission is invited to take note of the following. The Chair and Vice Chairs of the 77th session of the Commission examined the credentials of representatives received by the Member States in accordance with the Rule 12 of the ESCAP Rules of Procedure. The Bureau noted that credentials had been received by a total of 50 Member States and found them to be in order. Would any delegation wish to take the floor on any pertinent matter that has not been covered during the course of our deliberations? As I see none, this concludes our deliberations on agenda item 8. Excellencies, Madam Executive Secretary, distinguished delegates, we will now take up the final item, agenda item 9, adoption of the report of the Commission. I wish to invite the chair of the informal working group on draft resolutions, His Excellency Mr. Asim Iftikhar Ahmad, Ambassador of Permanent Representative of Pakistan to ESCAP, to report to us on the work of the working group. Ambassador, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, Excellencies, Madam Executive Secretary, distinguished delegates, allow me at the outset to thank the Commission for entrusting me and Mr. Andrew Byrne, Permanent Representative of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland to ESCAP, the responsibility of conducting the working group on draft resolutions as the chair and vice chair respectively. It was indeed an honor for us, and we thoroughly enjoyed working with all the delegates in the working group. I wish to extend to them our deepest thanks for their active participation in the deliberations demonstrated right from the beginning of our informal sessions. This year, the working group on draft resolutions had a particularly challenging task as its deliberations were held in a hybrid format, with some delegations participating in person in the United Nations Conference Center in Bangkok, while others participated online. And while countries had different views at times, in the end, all delegations showed great flexibility and spirit of compromise that enabled the working group to reach consensus and a successful outcome. I also want to acknowledge the efforts of the Secretariat throughout our consultations over the last few weeks. I know that I speak for the entire working group in appreciating the great support provided by our Secretariat colleagues. Mr. Chairman, based on the discussions held within the Advisory Committee of Permanent Representatives and in light of the challenges of negotiating in a hybrid format, Member States had agreed to consider in principle only one resolution this year. I wish to thank all delegations that were planning to table other resolutions at this year's session for their understanding and cooperation. This resolution focuses on the theme topic for the session, namely building back better from crises through regional cooperation in Asia and the Pacific. The resolution was tabled by the delegation of Thailand. It reflects the importance Member States have attached to the issues we have been deliberating during this session. While the informal working group on draft resolutions facilitated consultations in the lead up to the session, as per usual practice, all negotiations had to be concluded prior to the session and through a combination of online and offline consultations. Moreover, in the interest of aligning the procedures of ESCAP with those of its parent body, the Economic and Social Council, and to facilitate the decision-making process of the session, the informal working group adopted a silence procedure in line with ECOSOC Decision 2020/205 of 3rd April 2020. In this regard, Mr. Chair, I am pleased to report that the draft resolution and the decisions before the Commission for adoption today have undergone a silence procedure of 72 hours plus 2 extra days as agreed by the informal working group. During this silence procedure, no objections were raised. Mr. Chair, it is now my honor to present to the Commission this year's draft resolution as recommended by the working group on draft resolutions for consideration and adoption by the Commission. The resolution is entitled Building Back Better from Crises Through Regional Cooperation in Asia and Pacific, as contained in document ESCAP/75/L.4. Mr. Chair, this is the draft resolution which the informal working group has recommended for consideration and adoption by the Commission and which has undergone the silence procedure successfully. The resolution is sponsored by Thailand and is co-sponsored by Indonesia, Japan, Maldives, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and Vietnam. I would like to thank all distinguished delegates for their support and cooperation, and I thank you, Mr. Chair, in closing.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for this report. Excellencies, Madam Executive Secretary, distinguished delegates, we will now consider draft resolution presented to the Commission as contained in document ESCAP/77/L4, titled Building Back Better from Crisis Through Regional Cooperation in Asia and the Pacific. May I remind all delegations that the draft resolution was circulated to all member states under silence procedure and that no objections were raised. The draft resolution is therefore presented to the Commission for adoption. Are there any comments at this time? I see Thailand. Thailand, you have the floor.
The task of being the main sponsor of this year's ESCAP theme topic resolution, we envisioned that the resolution would bring countries closer together in building the region back from the COVID-19 crisis in a better, stronger, and more resilient manner. For this reason, our delegation was heartened that such spirit of cooperation was very much present throughout the negotiations. Together, the Commission has reached a balanced and action-oriented outcome that can serve as a basis for our individual and collective efforts to build back better from this crisis. On behalf of the Thai negotiating team, I thank all member states for their constructive participation and contributions. I also thank the distinguished permanent representatives of Pakistan and the United Kingdom for their able stewardship of the process, as well as the Secretary of the Commission and the Secretariat for their support. Thailand would also like to express our gratitude to the co-sponsors of the resolution, Indonesia, Japan, Maldives, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and Vietnam, and wish to invite other member states to co-sponsor before the resolution is adopted. Thailand looks forward to working closely with all member states and the Secretariat in implementing this resolution as we together build back our region. The resolution will indeed provide a good basis for our important work next year. I thank you.
Thank you, Thailand. Next, United States of America. United States of America, you have the floor. United States of America, please unmute yourself. It's still muted. We cannot hear you.
How about now?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Okay, great. Excellencies, good afternoon. On behalf of the United States, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to the Chair, the Secretariat, Thailand, and the other sponsors of this resolution, and my fellow delegates for a productive and collegial negotiation. The resolution demonstrates this region's commitment to recover stronger from the toll of the pandemic and to set us back on a path to achieving the goals of the 2030 Agenda, starting with addressing the needs of the most vulnerable. We would like to take this opportunity, however, to make important points of clarification on the resolution and underscore that this is a non-binding document that does not create rights or obligations under international law. The United States notes that the WTO is not the only international trading system in existence and cannot be elevated above other international trading systems, which encompass bilateral, regional, and plurilateral agreements. To elevate the status of the WTO is not an appropriate discussion for the UN, nor can we accept the reference in that sentence. Therefore, we take this opportunity to disassociate from OP4 regarding the WTO's position in the international trading system. The United States believes that each member state has the sovereign right to determine how it conducts trade with other countries. Moreover, it is our view that the UN must respect the independent mandates of other processes and institutions, including trade negotiations, and must not involve itself in or comment on the decisions, actions, or status of other fora, including the World Trade Organization. The UN is not the appropriate venue for these discussions, and there should be no expectation or misconception that the United States would understand recommendations made by the UN General Assembly on these issues to be binding. With respect to the references to the 2030 Agenda and the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk, I refer you to our global explanation of position delivered on September 1st, 2015. With these clarifications, the United States is pleased to join consensus on the UNESCAP resolution titled Building Back Better from Crises through Regional Cooperation in Asia and the Pacific. Thank you.
Thank you, distinguished delegate. Your statement will be reflected in the appropriate place by the Secretariat. Do I take it that the resolution can now be adopted? It is so decided. Before we conclude our adoption of the resolution, I would like to refer to the document ESCAP/77L3/Add1, Statement of Program Budget Implications of Actions and Proposals of the Commission. The document is presented to the Commission for adoption. I see China. China, you have the floor.
谢谢主席先生。中国支持协商一致通过这一次的决议草案。我们也愿借此机会感谢巴基斯坦大使和英国常驻代表主持工作小组的磋商，帮助整个工作小组就决议草案达成一致。我们也愿借此机会感谢秘书处所付出的这个努力，感谢所有成员在磋商过程中显示的建设性态度。中方认为，这个决议草案向外界社会传递出了一个积极的信号，在我们面对危机的时候，需要整事、团结、一致，以利于更好的重建并落实亚太可持续发展议程。见此，中方决定参与该决议草案的共提。谢谢主席先生。
Thank you, distinguished delegate. Your statement will be reflected in the appropriate places by the Secretariat. Do I take it that the resolution can now be adopted? The document ESCAP/77/L3/Add1 is adopted. Distinguished delegates, we will now consider the decisions of the Commission at this session. You have before you document ESCAP/77/L5, which contains all the draft decisions that resulted from our deliberations and were recommended for adoption by the Commission. I wish to remind all delegations that the draft decisions had been circulated to all member states under silence procedure and no objections were raised. The draft decisions, therefore, are now presented to the Commission for adoption. Please note that any additional pledges made by the countries under Agenda Item 5C today will be reflected by the Secretariat in the final version of the decisions after adoption. Are there any comments at this time on any of these or specific decisions? If there are none, may I then propose that we adopt the draft decisions of the Commission as contained in document ESCAP/77/L5. I see consensus. The document ESCAP/77/L5 is adopted. Excellencies, Madam Executive Secretary, distinguished delegates, those are the resolution and all of the decisions taken by this Commission at this session. We shall now consider the passage of the report dealing with the organization of the 77th session of the Commission as contained in document ESCAP/77/L3. Distinguished delegates, may I kindly note that changes of an editorial or grammatical nature will be taken care of by the Secretariat. Are there any comments on the document? I see none. The document ESCAP/77/L3 is adopted. This concludes the consideration of the draft report. Excellencies, Madam Executive Secretary, distinguished delegates, it's my great pleasure to propose that with the incorporation of the various amendments as agreed during this session, the report of the 77th session of the Commission be adopted by consensus. It is adopted. Now, before I close this 77th session, I would like to invite the Executive Secretary, Ms. Armida Salciales Jabana, to deliver her concluding remarks.
Honorable Chair, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, thank you for your active engagement and for making the 77th session of the Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific a success. We have come together virtually again to reaffirm our commitment to build back better in a post-COVID-19 era. I would like to sincerely express my appreciation and thanks for your meaningful engagement and unwavering support in successfully concluding the Commission session. It is my utmost hope that the resolution on the regional cooperation to build back better from crisis in Asia and the Pacific will further mainstream our response to COVID-19. We are committed to supporting governments to building back better from the COVID-19 pandemic through inclusive, resilient, and sustainable recovery strategies. I am pleased to note that the Commission has decided that the theme for the 78th Commission session will be a common agenda to advance sustainable development in Asia and the Pacific. ESCAP will be celebrating its own 75th anniversary in 2022. As the Commission approaches this landmark milestone, it is poised to take concrete actions on shaping the future of regional cooperation to advance the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and deliver on the common agenda set out by member states at the 75th United Nations General Assembly. Regional cooperation is as needed today as it was 75 years ago. I recognize the true spirit of multilateralism and friendship. Our member states can share experiences, including successes, challenges, lessons learned, and provide lasting solutions through our Commission platform. Allow me to sincerely thank all member states and entities that have pledged additional financial support to help us take our work forward. I would like to thank the Commission Bureau, the Chair, His Excellency Mr. Mukhtar Tiliberdi, the Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Kazakhstan, and the 4 Vice Chairs, Her Excellency Madam Millicent Cruz Paredes, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary and Permanent Representative of the Philippines to ESCAP, Her Excellency Madam Suchitra Durai, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary and Permanent Representative of India to ESCAP, His Excellency Mr. Tumur Amarsana, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary and Permanent Representative of Mongolia to ESCAP, and Mr. Paul Stephens, Minister and Deputy Chief of Mission and Permanent Representative of Australia to ESCAP, for so skillfully steering proceedings to their successful conclusion. I would like to extend my gratitude to all heads of state and heads of government who provided such inspiring statements at opening to help frame our discussions and guide our course of action. I am grateful also to the keynote speakers who help us shape the narrative of forging regional alliances and solidarity. All of us at ESCAP remain indebted to our gracious host, the Royal Thai government. I would like to thank the ESCAP Secretariat staffs who have worked hard, tirelessly and professionally to make this session a great success. I look forward to meeting with you in person, hopefully in 2022, and to committing and shaping the future of Asian Pacific together. Thank you all once again and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Executive Secretary, for concluding remarks. Before we adjourn the session, I would like to thank you, Madam Executive Secretary, once again, and your staff for the effective servicing of this Commission session. I would also like to recognize all those from the Secretariat and the interpreters who work behind the scenes to make this session a memorable one. I recognize the distinguished delegate of Malaysia requesting the floor. Malaysia, you have the floor.
On behalf of my delegation, to convey our deep appreciation to the chair of the 77th session, His Excellency Mr. Mukhtar Tiliberdi, to you and the rest of the Bureau for guiding the deliberations of the 77th session Commission to a successful conclusion. And through you, Mr. Chair, I would like to convey our gratitude to the Royal Thai government for co-hosting the session. Although delegates could not benefit from the traditional Thai, the warm hospitality Thailand offers due to the virtual nature of this session, I'm sure, like many other delegates, we look forward to meeting in person next year, hopefully. And finally, Mr. Chair, we wish to record our sincere thanks to Ms. Amirda Ali Shabana, Executive Secretary of ESCAP, for her able staff for the excellent preparations and for the session, and who were very attentive to the needs of delegations, which made our tasks much easier. And also congratulations to Mr. Lorenzo Santucci for your first session as the Secretary of the Commission. And again, thank you, Mr. Chair, and stay safe.
Thank you, distinguished delegate from Malaysia. Excellencies, Madam Executive Secretary, distinguished delegates, as you know, next year ESCAP will be celebrating the 75th anniversary of its establishment. Between now and next year's session, the Secretariat will organize a series of activities in the lead-up to this auspicious anniversary. To kickstart the year-long commemorations, the Secretariat has prepared a short video, which I would request the conference room officer to play now. With that, I thank all delegations for their active participation and look forward to meeting you again at the 78th session of the Commission next year. I hereby now declare the 77th session of the Commission adjourned.